Peace be with you and welcome back to my channel for another video. I thank you for liking, sharing, and subscribing to my channel. If you're new here, thank you. Welcome. Feel free to click the notifications button so that when I have new content, you'll be alerted. I always start my videos out with just a brief explanation of what I do for people that want to tap in or see the video. Nevertheless, the way this works is I channel messages direct from spirit. It is a gift that I've had all my life. And I give those messages to the collective as spirit sees fit. That's what I do. So again, if my channel resonates with you, then welcome. And yeah, let's get into the message. So the message for today is pretty clear, always clear when I get messages from spirit. Is about leadership. Leadership, ascension, transformation, and moving forward. Divine leadership. I think sometimes people misunderstand leadership because it is such a very powerful position to be in when you are required or called to lead people, however the divine sees fit. But at the same time, what people fail to understand is that most leaders still have to go through things in order to be able to teach or to be able to guide or lead other people. Oftentimes, there is a spiritual syllabus, if you will, laid out for the person that needs to lead people. And sometimes, it's a narrow path. It can be pretty narrow, unless you are co-creating and or collaborating with other leaders, which is always refreshing because you need people who understand, right, what you are being called to do and the process of that. And so it's so important to keep our heads light, literally and figuratively, not heavy. I always heard the saying, heavy is the head that wears the crown. No, heavy ain't the head that wears the crown. That's something that somebody came up with. Light is the head that wears the crown. Anything heavy is weighing you down. And in most of these positions, you don't need gravity. So light is the spirit. Light, literal light, and being light, not heavy, are definitely requirements. Because can you imagine having a leader who's bombarded by the weight of the world? If the leader loses it, then how are people going to know what to do? It's an interesting domino effect in a sense. So if the leader passes out, then everybody's going to pass out. So a leader is required to always be connected to the divine. If you're lucky, that's the kind of leaders that you see in front of you. Because that's where the instructions come from, is the divine. That's where the path is being molded and shaped and co-created, is by the divine. Trusting in that, knowing that everything that one needs is there. Because real leaders want to create real leaders, not more followers. That's ego. There are people that I used to follow that I no longer follow anymore. Not because I don't have a great deal of respect for them and what I've learned and what I needed at that time, but because the time is up. Some things run their course. Sometimes you end cycles. I had one teacher that I followed for 20 years. Yeah. And it's not something that disconnected badly. It was just, okay, I've gotten all that I need from this. So now it's time for me to go and do what I need to do. It's almost like being an intern. You know, this is the prerequisite to your position as a leader, as a spiritual guide, a spiritual teacher, whatever your gift is, you know. Maybe you teach people how to meditate. So yeah, it's very, very, very much a necessary process. So that is the message, you know, becoming a leader, embodying a leader, knowing what that smells like, tastes like, feels like. This world is always encouraging us to mimic other people in so many ways. Our admiration can turn into wanting to be somebody. And that is something I don't encourage anybody to do. But with all due respect, you know, there's only one Michael Jackson. There's only one Beyonce, or there was one Michael Jackson. So I use those examples loosely just to kind of paint a very blatant, simple picture of how society sets us up to really try to be like everybody, how to sound like everybody else, when in actuality, you have an authentic existence. So never lose that, because sometimes we can get too into molding and shaping ourselves into being someone else, whether we're conscious of it or unconscious, that we, at the end of the night or end of the day or whatever, won't know who we are. And so that is the beauty of being authentic. That is the beauty of walking in your gift, a gift that nobody else has. Nobody else is like you. Walking in that spiritual uniqueness and being a great example of what it looks like, because you're a leader. People are watching. So hopefully you're encouraging them to step into their own truth. There can only be one EEE-YAH. There can only be one Ma-COOLIE. That's the way that that works. So that's the message. Short and sweet, moving forward. Just went through a real dynamic time. I'm sure anybody on their spiritual path can feel it physically, mentally, you know, learning so much that's going to be needed at the next level. But I really feel abundance. Like, when I mean abundance, I mean not just money. Money is, yeah, it's there, a lot of money. But I mean abundance of joy, abundance of love and faith and authenticity and, you know, all good things in abundance, though. Like, greatness is what I feel. Because this shift from October to current, of which we're still in, right? Moving from a judgment. When I say a judgment, everybody got judged under that judgment during Libra season for that first serious full moon. Moving into Scorpio, and Scorpio, Lord have mercy, nobody was exempt from Scorpio's energy during Scorpio season. I don't care who you are. You talk about Scorpio was ending cycles and putting a death to stuff that maybe you weren't even ready to put a death to. Scorpio was like, time's up. That got to die. I've been telling you for 10 years that that needed to die. So now that you don't have the courage to kill it and you keep going back into the trash and pulling out what we keep putting it into, we just going to get rid of it. That Scorpio energy was fierce. But the beauty of it, right, after all the death happened, because that's what Scorpio represents, death, transformation, and rebirth. That's exactly how it went, in that order: death, transformation, and rebirth. And then under the Scorpio moon, we transitioned into possessions and wealth with Taurus. Did you feel that? Did anybody out there feel that? Even if you have not gotten to the point where you understand that God is all of the galaxy embodied, right? And you're just discerning. If you felt that, you felt that. It was so necessary. Now, being in a very fiery, right, energy of Sagittarius, come through, Sagittarius. Teach us beliefs, religion, theories, ideas. Fire is a very powerful element. Fire can be used to do a whole bunch of things. Keep you warm or set you ablaze. And so that is really where we're at. And Spirit is saying, listen, the heavens are open. You know, the heavens are open. Now that all of what you need is being provided, how will you move as a leader? How will you use your platform, your wealth, right? Your power as an influencer of the world. How will you use that power? Because with those gifts, with that abundance of knowledge, abundance of love and joy, and all these things, you're getting an abundant amount because a lot of that you're going to have to share. So it's like the divine is pouring into your cup more than enough. Enough for you and enough for the people that you're supposed to be giving parts of this to. Where you're going, abundance is necessary. So the universe is saying, look, I got you on auto repeat with the abundance. That's been handled. I got you on auto repeat with the downloads from the Most High. So you know where you're going. You're being guided. Now that those things have been satisfied, one must create from a place of freedom. Because the things that once weighed you down are being lifted. There is no longer a weight of finances. There's no longer the weight of, depression because I'm at this job and I know I'm supposed to be doing something else. That's really where depression comes from. It's feeling and knowing that you should be doing something else. Right? There's no longer that weight of anxiety. Oh, well, what am I going to do? Well, what if I do this? And no. Spirit is saying grounded. I've removed all of that. So now what? Now you don't have any excuses not to be as great as you need to be. So once you corner yourself like that, right? And you put your mindset and that of being a leader, first you have to lead yourself to make great decisions. Being a leader of self. Because now there's no more excuses. If you still stuck to a relationship that's holding you down because you're afraid of what people gonna think, get rid of it. You slow down the process. You add unnecessary weight to yourself. A lot of cycles have ended, or they should have. So we need to go with the flow and acceptance of that, if that is what the divine is asking of us. We are in a time, and I'm not kidding, where one has to be connected to their divine counterpart. Period. Divine soulmate, divine twin. Hey, listen, this is where we're going. Why? Because that enhances your path. Having a decent human being who is a reflection of you and you are both co-creating two wonderful divine minds and hearts and bodies and souls are better than one. Mayat is balancing the scales. We need divine partnerships because God is ordaining it to be that way. I don't care how cute he is. I don't care how cute she is. I don't care how good or bad it feels or whatever you're addicted to. You're only prolonging the process. Some people have been in relationships with people 10, 15, 20 years, but not with their divine counterpart, married on paper, but not with their divine counterpart. It's never supposed to be that hard when it's your divine counterpart. It's actually quite easy. It's actually very organic, very clean, very natural, very rhythmic. There's a flow in it. So anything you find yourself, quote unquote, working on, it ain't for you. That could be a project, that could be a marriage, that could be a friendship. If you find yourself heavily being burdened, I'm working on my marriage, I'm working on this friendship. Listen, you got to let that go. Pack whoever you need to pack up in that, imaginary box and get rid of it. Now, because having to live your life knowing that you never had the courage to end a cycle or close a door that should have been closed on baby number one, two, three, four, I don't know. Sometimes God will connect people for certain amounts of times. And then those times have to come to an end. Heavy on the death and the rebirth. Heavy on the transformation, though. Because it's one thing to put things to rest or to end a cycle, but to come out of that refusing to transform and be reborn into the newness, that is a gift in itself. To be reborn into newness, new power, is a gift in itself. The only things that can hold you back most times is yourself. One has to be honest. One has to be willing. One has to be ready. Because the moment you are, the universe is there to meet you quickly. It's like I hear the universe going, oh, finally. Whew. Girl, we've been waiting on you for a long time. And so things become rushed quickly. Because now you're willing to be aligned with what it is that you know that you're supposed to be doing. So the universe is putting a rush on it. Why? Because time is of the essence. And then God will start to mold and shape time for you so that you accomplish what it is you've come to do. But once you're out, don't be like Lot's wife. Don't look back. At least not with a heavy heart, says Ma-COOLIE. Let your heart be as light as a feather. If you want to reminisce and look back, you got to be strong to look back. You got to be strong, mentally, physically, spiritually strong. Be as light as a feather. Let your heart be purified with no regrets. So that is the message for today. That's the message, short and sweet. How will you move knowing that everything is on your path? Death, transformation, and rebirth, being open to that, willing, being honest. And just continue to do those self-checks and audits, making sure that everything is lined up with the greater good of where you're trying to go. Transparency, authenticity, with self first. So that is the message. Peace be with you. I hope you come back.